Josh Kronfeld, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Nice to be here, boys. Definitely between two beers, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
One big one and one skinny one.
And you've been doing a bit of surfing today, have you?
I've had a fantastic day, dropping the kids off, raced out to had my first surf at Māori Bay. Tom Robinson took me out there.
How's he going to surf?
Oh, he looks amazing in the surf. You know, those big ginger locks just flowing around, you know. I saw him go over the falls a few times, but no, he goes good. He goes good.
That's cool. How often are you getting in the surf these days?
Well, the last couple of months have just been incredible. I've managed to procure a lot of windows, and that's how surfing works for me. Sometimes I don't get to surf for months because I just can't create a window with the surf working. But for whatever reason, the last 2 months has been just consistent 2 to 3 foot swell on the west coast with offshore easterlies, and like it's unheard of. Like most of the old boys are giving the chat like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime. So when they're saying stuff like that, you got to kind of believe that that's for real, you know. So it's been pretty epic.
Yeah. And you're spending a lot of time in Raglan?
Not as much time as I like. You know, I've got a house there. I've had it for well over 20 years now, and we get there at least a few times of the year and stay for a duration. But lately, it's just been all in my backyard. So Raglan's, that's a big trip, mate.
The way we do things at Between Two Beers, we tell the audience how we know the guests. So Shay, how do you know Josh?
I am a massive 90s Otago and Highlanders rugby fan, so I would watch rugby religiously. 90, 96, 97, 98, 99 are probably peak years for me watching. At Hamilton Boys.
My worst years, mate. My worst years.
No, at Hamilton Boys, I somehow earned I loved Brendan Laney, so Brendan Chainsaw Laney.
Yep.
And I had a mate, Michael Edwards, who we called Eddie Hikanui, who was a backup first five. But my other Kronfeld link, my older brother used to always tell me to back myself. Yeah. And it was something that he reckoned you said on an episode of Sports Cafe. Now, this is my opportunity to find out whether it's true or not, because I've been going with that mantra for about 22 years now.
Is that all you've got? Just back yourself?
Back yourself. Just be like Josh Kronfeld. Just back yourself.
I 100% say that I would possibly say something like that.
That's good enough for me.
I'm great believer in, like the only person that can make a difference is yourself. You know, so back yourself, have a go.
There you go.
Chance your arm. But if you're shit, don't do that.
All right. 22 years in the making, I've finally been able to find out whether that was fact or fiction, and it's fact enough for me.
It's relative though, isn't it, man? Like you've got to trust in your own skill sets and stuff, and if you've got those things in place, you have to back yourself, and it's important. That's part of being successful. So, it is a great line. I don't know if I actually said it, but it is a good line. It makes sense to me.
Good enough for me. And Steve's a few years younger than me, so you maybe don't remember as much of the on-field stuff, but what's your Kronfeld link?
Yeah, two strong ones. Headgear, I think just Josh Kronfeld headgear. I was about 10 in the 95 World Cup, and Jonah Lomu Rugby, the commentary is like, Kronfeld! Lomu! You ever play that, Jonah Lomu Rugby?
Burrowing like a demented mum.
It's really good.
I can't do the accent, but...
Steve's the accent guy. You could do it.
Yeah, like a Sherman tank going down the field there.
Yeah, good. Bill
That's
Beaumont.
That's
you.
Gary Owen. Yeah. Anyway, so what we do, we reached out to our contacts and friends and colleagues and things to try to get some good stories. So I've had 2 little bits thrown to me, and I'm not really sure where they're going to lead, but I'm just going to put them out there just to see if we can get something going. So the first one says, back in the day, a British tabloid did a list of the hottest rugby players. Definitely ask about that.
Yeah. So 99 World Cup, and we were sitting down at breakfast. I just arrived at breakfast, and all the boys were having a bit of a giggle and stuff like that. And they'd put the sort of the top 100 best looking guys down to, and sort of rated it from best to worst. if that makes sense.
Okay.
And so,
I feel like
so at the top you had your Jeremy Gascotts, and I think Jeff Wilson at that time was at number 5 with his blonde flowing locks, and all the people that were at the start were all dressed in immaculate, like, you know, number 1s or bow tie, you know, like dressed, you know, black tie. It was just wrong. And then any person that was remotely ugly was either screaming at the ref, you know, just like a horrendous photo, right?
Stitch up.
And so my photo was pretty much, you know, headgear like that. And I'm screaming at the guy, at someone, you know, and I was 98. All right?
Wow.
And I was a bit gutted. And I'm having a little bit of a, you know, like cracking with the boys about it and stuff like that. And we're all laughing. And Anton Oliver walks in and he goes, oh, what are you guys all laughing at? And they said, oh, Josh is second ugliest man in world rugby. And he goes, oh, yeah, who's number 1? Everyone cracked up because it was him.
It's good.
Gold.
It's
Gold.
good.
I've delivered on number 1. Okay, so the second one, ask him about injuring his crown jewels interviewing Mahi Drysdale.
Yeah, look, I never even made the interview, to be fair. So we'd gone down, and these lovely people had a hydrofoil bike, and it takes a little bit of a getting used to ride, but it's not too hard. And I think in maybe my first or second go at it, I kind of sunk on it, and it went down, but the bike still was quite buoyant, and so it started to float back up past me, but it kind of clipped the underside of my wetsuit and just started pulling on it. Yeah. But as it clipped the underside of my wetsuit, I think it must have just wound on my balls and just grabbed
into that perennial area.
Just grabbed the sack.
Oh, okay.
And literally just kept pulling it, and I kind of unhooked myself and went, oh, geez, that was uncomfortable. So we carried on filming. I did 40 more minutes longer in the water, swimming and riding this bike, and got the hand of it and everything like that. And I got it down pat. And so they said, all right, you ready to race Mahi? And I says, yeah, we can get him over. And I says, oh, just before we do that, I just want to have a check of things down there, because every time I'm in the water, I get this flushing sensation and a sting. And I think, you know, I might have nicked something, you know. And so anyway, I stripped the wetsuit down and I pulled out, and there's just blood everywhere. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, it looks a bit weird. I think I might have ripped my sack. And anyway, so I said to my cameraman at the time, I said, Nate, I don't usually ask a man to look at my nuts, but can you tell me if we need to make sure we need to go to the hospital? Because I think this might be hanging out. And I pulled the old fella to the side and dropped the wetsuit, and he goes, go to the hospital, go to the hospital. And I swear to you, if I could have filmed anything in my life, it would have been that moment of watching his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said it was just hanging out on the string.
Buck Shelford
so
of broadcast.
I had a Buck Shelford moment. So whenever anyone talks about that stuff, I fully know what's going on. But the story even gets better, because this was 2 days before we meant to be going on holiday with the whole family to Bali. And I'm just going, oh, that's it. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And we get to the hospital, and I said I hand over the thing to the lady, and she says, I says, do we go to A in here or do we go to urology? She says, you've got to go to urology for that. So they make me walk. I'm in my undies. I've got like I'm wearing a lady's bloody
a pad.
A pad, a double whammy pad, so holding my balls, and I'm like walking through the middle of the hospital in Waikato, and they make me walk all the way to the urologist. Go, oh no, that's A&E.
That's A&E. Yeah.
So I had to walk all the way back. Meantime, Nate, the driver's parked up, and I says, I think we're going to be a while. Might as well go to the movies or something, mate. And then I think I'm going to have to go in for surgery. So then Jesus. I'm lying on the bed, and of course, I'm lying there with everything hanging out. And every 5 seconds, some nurse is popping her head in and having a look. And I'm going, what's going on here? You know, like, clearly someone had said, "Oh, someone's got
Words got out.
word out." So everybody's just having a look.
Situation.
Anyway, finally the head nurse comes in and goes, "Nah, that's it. You're all. There's too many people in here." She said, "Everyone out." She kicked everyone out, and then the registrar comes in and he goes, "Look, mate, the guy that's going to do your surgery, we want to have wants to see the damage and make sure that we need to get you into surgery straight away or whether you can wait." And I'm kind of gutted. He says, I'm going to take a photo of your balls.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
he takes a photo, and like when you send a text and, you usually wait 30 seconds, someone takes it in, and then it was like, it was straight back, yeah, you're going in for surgery. And so, but I wish I'd got that photo because,
I wish I got the footage of you walking around the hospital.
Oh, yeah, it was so wrong, so wrong. So he ended up having the surgery, and so I'm thinking, well, that's it, like pretty dangerous area, going to Bali, in the water,
Salt
surfing,
water,
water, all that sort of stuff. It's not going to really work. So I don't think it's going to happen. And he goes, look, just see, on the Saturday, you can go and see, like a White Cross doctor or something like that, and he'll give him this phone number, and he can ring me, and we can have a discussion whether we think it's relevant for you to go. And so I go home Thursday night. It was not too bad. I had some good drugs. I fell asleep. But then on Friday night, dude, I was walking around like with bollocks like that, all right? Yeah. And they were black. And it would look like I had like Herman Munster's stitches through the, like, I swear you, each stitch, like my ball sack was coming out of the stitches like my fingers do. And I was just looking at it, I'm going, there's no way. Like, my old fellow disappeared into my balls. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot of swelling.
That's a lot of swelling, man. They were just massive. And I couldn't walk. I was like, literally, like, it was horrendous. But by Friday and then on Saturday morning, they'd gone back to reasonably normalish size. I mean, they were still kind of double size, but
big plums, but not.
No, but they didn't look. They didn't look like they were about to explode. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I actually, and then of course, again, he had to take photos of my balls to send it. This doctor must have all these photos of my balls on his phone.
Well, no, you didn't take any of your own and send it to your mates. I
took a photo. Do you guys want to see? Now I'm not going to show, but it is quite.
We'll have to describe it for the podcast audience.
It'll be one of those reaction videos.
Yeah. I like how he's got it saved on the phone. How many people are you showing?
No, I've just got to work out how you get the favourites. Here we go.
Favourites, yeah. Most shared.
Oh, God.
Profile pictures.
It's a great start.
Here we go.
It's a strong start.
Oh, my God. What am I looking at there?
That is just, that's the stitch on the bollock, mate.
Oh.
Don't.
I don't even, that doesn't.
I know.
Yeah, that could be anything.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's fucking, it's just swollen.
How's everything looking these days?
Well, this is the cool thing about having this. For at least 2 or 3 months, because that was all tightened up, I had the balls of a 20-year-old.
Yeah. They're really sitting high.
I'd just come in and wink at my missus and she'd go, "You're looking good, honey."
In terms of discomfort, where does that rate compared with some of the rugby injuries that you had?
Look, that was nothing, bro.
Really?
Yeah, no. Like, it's surprisingly, don't get me wrong, when they were swollen, that was uncomfortable. But they give me medication for that, and it didn't really matter. But no, I think some of the worst injuries are the least damaging. Like a hip spiker. That's really, I know it sounds really like nothing, but it's when someone's bony part connects with the top of your hip, and it's right where all of your everything connects. So it's like the muscle comes in and layers over itself and so when you get it like this crazy ass bruise, you cannot talk, cough, move without it hurting. I found that is a pretty good one.
Yeah, I would have thought ripping your ball sack would have been up there, but there you go.
I'm assuming this story was the Crowd Goes Wild job, was it, with Drysdale?
Yeah, it was the story was with Crowd Goes Wild. Yeah.
I'm interested in just spending a little time talking about that side of your life. It's obviously different to the rugby that we're going to get into.
Yeah.
But how does that work? Like, do they come up with an idea and they send you down for an afternoon or a day, and you come up with an idea of how you're going to make a little entertaining 2-minute package?
Yeah, look, it's a bit like that. So sometimes they'll already have a concept and a storyline, and between you and the cameraman, you'll film that out. And sometimes you can have that story already plotted and ready to go, and it works really well. But then other times you'll get down there, and you think, yeah, I've got the story, it's going to work, and it just doesn't pan out. And sometimes you end up with an even better story. You know, like, because just the dynamic of whatever happens. I think the key part to it is that as long as you don't mind making like a menace of yourself, then it doesn't actually matter. You know, like it'll come out funny.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can't really take the piss out of the athlete. The athlete they are the colour, and they are the people that you're wanting to promote. You know, you want to make them look good, and so it's you that has to be the piss has to get taken out.
Are there particular types of stories where when they're kicking them around, they're like, yeah, this is a Josh story? Yeah.
Like I have I'm not really an angry man, but like they created that component in my repertoire, and there's been a couple of moments where I've strutted out in my Speedos, and they seem to go back, and that seems to come into every second story I do. So I don't know, like it's a great show to work for. I really love meeting the athletes. I think out of everything that I've done in my life, that's probably the coolest part of the show. You know, yeah, we create some awesome stories and some moments in history and cover it and stuff like that, but it's actually meeting those people and getting them to talk like we are now, but in a dynamic that is news. And when you do get that, like some of the content that we've got, or little things that we've managed to sneak over the fence, have been gold. You know, like no other media company would have got an interview like we've got.
Yeah.
So I do cherish that part of it, and unfortunately, the stories are only ever 2 minutes to 3 minutes tops, and so a lot of our best content often doesn't make the final cut. Yeah. Which is a shame, because you know, some of the stories told are just epic.
Were the origins of that kind of style of media coverage around when you were playing, like the Sports Cafe days?
Yeah, so Sports Cafe was the start of it. So both Sports Cafe and Crowd Goes Wild are Rick Solito's babies originally, and so he always knew that dynamic was going to work, and then using athletes to sort of, I don't know, to interact with other athletes is kind of good, because I mean, I think when you get a normal media person come in and talk to an athlete, they're already reserved and worried. You know,
we're talking about the dynamic right now, Josh.
A little bit. But I've been around enough of you morons to be comfortable. You know,
as you were saying how rewarding it is to talk to the athletes, I was thinking, fuck, that's exactly the reason we're doing this podcast.
Me too.
The feeling that you get when you talk to others is what we're getting right now talking to you. So I'm really looking forward to digging in and getting into some of the meat of it. I want to start with Hastings. So you grew up in Hastings and went to Hastings Boys High. And I've heard you say on a number of occasions that schoolboy rugby is better than All Blacks rugby, meaning that is where you got the most enjoyment.
It's such a different dynamic. It's probably the most unique brand of rugby that you'll ever play. You know, the All Blacks is a special club, and I think that's something at some point in your lifetime, whether it's as a child or whether it's as an adult or somewhere along the way, you go, I want to be an All Black. You know, and that is sort of, I think, in New Zealand the general aim if you're a rugby player, at some point. But in terms of like the stuff that you do in first 15, it's next level, because like when else do you? These are guys that you've kind of grown up with a lot of them, not all of them, but you may have started at primary school, started playing footy together, and you've gone all the way through the grades, and you might have gone away into different schools and then come back in at high school, and you go through the different grades up to there, and then all of a sudden you're in the first 15. And it's a special thing for the schools, especially rugby schools. That's for a lot of schools, like Mags here or something like that. That's having a good first 15 is an important part.
Hamilton Boys.
Or Hamilton Boys, or Gizzy Boys. It's an important part of that school. And but the thing is, you get into that team, and then you're with all your friends, and you create a family mode, and if it becomes a really good team, it gets really tight. You learn to go out and socialise together. So every party that you have, there'll be at least a few of the first 15 at that party that you're at. It connects all the different social groups, because there'll be surfing, there'll be skaters, there'll be occasionally there's a few geeks in there.
Yeah.
Like rugby just embraces, if you can play code, just embraces all that network. Shouldn't have been drinking beer. And, you go out, you socialite, you probably dated the same girls a couple of times, you probably, I don't know, it's just, you just make all the discoveries together. And then at the end of it, you're striving to achieve as a group. And I think, it was a stepping stone in discovering a little bit of who I was as an individual, and also the start of the camaraderie of what rugby offers. I can't say that that's always been like for some rugby boys, that's the thing about rugby. It wasn't that, but that was the discovery for me. Like this is actually pretty special. And some of those, so you want to take all the good qualities of different teams, and you want to take it into and keep putting it into the next one and the next one, no matter what level,
Did that observation come through in later life?
I think so, mostly, but I knew that, because I went from, like, I think my rugby transition was pretty special, like I started playing first 15 in fifth form, which is pretty young, and so all of a sudden that was my whole education into drinking, came from hanging out with seventh formers, like 2 years older than you. It's a massive curve, I probably got to feel my first set of boobs, in fifth form, and it was simply because she thought I was a second year sixth. It's such a learning curve.
It's coming of age stuff.
It's coming of age, So it's there's all of that, and then I went so from being the young guy and transitioning through to our final year and us going to top 4. Again, a special thing for a first 15 to do. And our school had never had a team in top 4 until that year. So that's a cool thing too, You
know how like the best rugby player at school is always kind of the centre of attention. Well, it was in my experience anyway. You're in the top 4. You've got a really good team. Are you that central guy? Like, what do you like in the group?
I guess I was. I can't remember. I might have even been captain, I think.
Long time ago.
Too many injuries, but I definitely had a part. Like in the school. Like I was definitely. But our school was full of that particular period was full of athletes, like high end athletes. I think our soccer team was like had gone through all the different, gone to different tournaments and progressed. Sort of same ilk with the top 4. Our hockey team had similar success, and then we had numerous like long distance athletes and stuff like that. So I think that was just a golden year or golden little period in the growth of our school. I mean, I think it's been more recently that top 4 has been won by Hastings boys.
Big rivalry now between Hastings and Hamilton.
But I mean, like even the transition, like like the haka, for instance, like Mr. Morris created the first ever haka for our school. I think it was called Akina, and I can't remember any of it, but I just remember how difficult that was because I'd never done any haka till my 7th form.
Answer me this.
And we were terrible at it. We were so bad. Whereas now, I'd say you watch those kids do it, they'll just be next level. Yeah.
Is 15, 16-year-old Josh Kronfeld practicing it in the shower like every kid did that went to a boys' school?
I didn't learn the haka till the 7th. I'll tell you a story about the haka. So I just made the first 15. Cameron Stitchbury, who was our head boy at that time, he was the New Zealand sex number 7, and so he was like
the man,
going to be the guy that was going to progress into the All Blacks and all that stuff. And he got 3 concussions in a short period of time, and it ended that he never played rugby again.
Wow.
And so I got pulled up and I was tiny, dude. I was so small. And I would have reckoned it would have been my 2nd or 3rd game for Hastings boys in the first 15. And Te Aote had come down from their school, and they'd loaded their whole school into their 6 buses or whatever and drove them down, parked them up around our paddock, and then they lined from our pavilion, because our school had just built a brand new pavilion, built this from the pavilion entry all the way out to our ground, which was probably, which wasn't right in front of the pavilion, it was just off to the side a little bit. I guess probably maybe 120 metres or so, maybe a little bit longer, and lined us with 2 lines all the way out to the ground. So we had to walk through them while they were doing this crazy ass haka. And I just remember looking at it going, like I was freaking out. And I remember the game was 18-all, which was a big coup because Te Aote at that time were really powerful. Yeah. Anyway.
I could just imagine
who tunes up to your own school and then gets hucked out to your main ground
by the opposition.
By the opposition, and it's just not right.
I want to move you along. So 18, you moved to Dunedin to study PE at Otago Uni. 4-year degree, but rugby starts to take centre stage. And you started off. You mentioned you were small. I've heard that you were a wiry sort of 88 kgs, which kind of overnight turned into a 100 kg beast. Is that fair? Take me to that part.
Yeah. So the 88 kg was, this is like the tail end of university, man. So I've got taller and longer, I guess.
This is the tail end of university, so you've gone through uni.
Yeah, pretty much. So in 1993, which was the, 1990, first year, 91, 92. So in 1992, Gordon Hunter invites me to come train with Otago, and at that time I'm only 88 kg, so I've put on some beastie weight, and I just remember going down there and training like a crazy man, and he gave me one game against Southland, and it was awful. Paul Henderson just made me look like a fool. It was quite embarrassing. Yeah. And Gordon basically said, you need to speak to Ginge and have a discussion with him. And I didn't want to do that because that was embarrassing, But he made me do it, and I did it. And he gave me a whole lot of little tips. And he actually said to me, I shouldn't really tell you those because you'll probably end up taking my position. And
sure enough,
next year I pretty much did, so. But I realised that I was too light, and I'd had a bit of a messy breakup as a young man. I thought I was in love, and I did, and it really bugged me.
Was that the first heartbreak?
Yeah, it was the first
Yeah.
heartbreak. You know, like there was, and I think I took it rather badly, and I know I did. I took it badly, and so I went home and I was dark, man. I was dark with everyone, and so I was working 70-hour weeks, working.
You've used this as fuel, haven't you?
Yeah, and I was.
What were you doing?
So I was working at for Fantasyland, which was a fun park, which is now Splash Planet or something like that.
A lot of hours at a fantasy park.
Yeah, no, that was during the day.
Okay.
And then so I'd run there in the morning, and then I'd run from there to the gym. I'd pound out the gym, then I'd run home, and Mum would have a massive feed, and I'd just hove. You know, this is all pre-proteins and shit like that.
Yeah.
I'd just smash food again, and then I'd get in the car, drive to the Happy Tav in Havelock, and work the door or the bar or collect glasses. Just did it all, and so just trying to smash money back into the bank account. You know, as a student.
Well, putting on some serious timber. 12 kgs.
Well,
Does it
the
all
funny
go to
thing
the right
is,
places?
the funny is, I don't reckon I put on a lot of weight then. It
If you're running everywhere,
no, I wasn't, and so I think I was actually overtraining, and so when I turned up back at the end of the year, end of the sort of year to come back for sevens training, I was just like cut to pieces. Like I had striations on striations, and you know, like.
Bet you wish you had a Speedo photo then that they could use on CGW.
In fact, I think I strutted the beach a couple of times, but like I was absolutely like gaunt, cut. You know, like as though I've been bodybuilding sort of scenario, and.
I like that you're looking at me when you say that. Like I would know. I would know.
And but I think it sort of coincided with it being about 2021. It's, you know, a young man often fills out around that period, and so I reckon it coincided with that, and then the fact that I've been overtraining, and when I went back and started training with the sevens boys, I was super fit and super keen, and suddenly I was having a few beers. And which I hadn't done all summer, and I think just the extra carbos, I just went like overnight,
Filled out.
yeah, just filled out, and it was like, so everybody was going, "Has Josh been, you know,
Yeah.
taking the roids?" Because they'd seen me last before Christmas, and then all of a sudden I was just like literally twice the size. But it was amazing, you know, like it just made me understand, you know, like if you train hard and you work hard, you can have real success, you know, and suddenly things that were sort of hard were really easy, you know. I can remember the first contact that I went in with the sevens competition, and it was one of our real big boys, and I just kind of brushed them off. I went and ran round someone else, and then dotted in the corner, and I just went, "What just happened there?"
Yeah.
Did you ever go NZ sevens?
Nah, which was kind of, I would have liked to have. I never got, like, we went, our team was pretty good. We won the South Islands and came second in the Nationals. And a couple of our boys, I think JT and that made it into the sevens, but I never got a nod.
I'm not sure I've got the timeline right here, but 93, 20-year-old PE student, you're part of the Otago team that beat the Lions, right?
Yes.
That's like an incredible result.
Yes.
Was that 88 kg, Josh?
No, that was
beefed
98, 100 kg.
That was beast mode, Josh. What do you remember about that experience?
What a tour that was, because, yeah, phenomenal. I remember that.
Well, so this is a Springboks game, isn't it, 93, or was that the
When you beat
Lions?
the Lions.
A Lions
37,
game, sorry. So
24,
Lions
yeah.
game.
Full strength Lions.
So the Lions game, my memory is of that game is just the sheer noise. Like, I don't think I played in a game at Carisbrook at that time that had that number of people. I'd had a couple of games for Otago at that particular time, and yes, it was full, but not like a Lions game. And I remember Scott Hastings coming in to make a tackle, and then I gave the ball to John, and he scored under the post, and he broke his jaw and went home on my knee. And I've had a few good beers with him since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Dwayne Sweeney on, who talked about, he played, I think, for the divisional 15 against the Lions, and just how special it is
It's
in
amazing.
your career, because not everybody gets a chance to do it, right? Just because of the
I
nature
never
of
got
it.
to do it as an All Black, which I think that would have been wonderful because you're actually playing the best in that kind of most of the Northern Hemisphere. You know what I mean? Like that is their cream, and so to actually beat them, it's a big kudos. You know,
to beat them as a student, like as a scarf.
Yeah, you're a student, eh?
In Otago, you got Mark
it was
Ellis in
awesome,
the
man.
team. You're coming down from, I think you were 18-8 down. Like, what does that look like after you win? Like, do you even remember what the celebrations were like that night?
Oh, dude, there's just too much. You actually couldn't. I couldn't even tell you legally on here. No, look.
Is it a nude court session in the Guardies?
Oh, no, that was later on. That was '98. Yeah, look. I can be honest. Like that was the one thing that made I think the Highlanders or the Otago team or that group of people of that period so amazing. Is we were already professional in a lot of ways, like in terms of how we trained and applied ourselves. Like there was just like you didn't turn up to training and stuff around, like that. Like all the old boys in there be just like, you know, you get your brains knocked out or something. You know, like they just and you literally would be. It wouldn't be like you get told off, you get a slap around the ears. You know, so you didn't really want to stuff up. So there's that essence to the training, and then on top of that, when you did have success or you did have even a negative time, there would be a downtime to deal with it, and our celebratory stuff was always next level. You know, I think it was just an extension of university and.
You can see you light up just thinking
mate,
back to it.
Just good people wanting to play rugby together really well, and then when we did, we wanted to have a great time celebrating it, and that was the one thing that was always very apparent. You know, court sessions were always a big part of that period, but people don't quite get court sessions. Like for the Otago group, court sessions were a moment to really broach some of the things that don't get broached, you know, like the undercurrent that might be going in a team. There's some negativity or something that's been not done quite right. It could be the finger can be pointed in these situations, and on the flip side, that person can put their hand up and make the apologies, and it's all done and dealt with, rather than sit there and stew. You know, and so. As much as some of those court sessions were amazingly fun and out of control, they also had some real serious components to them, where stuff was worked out, and people admitted, because it's a big thing to admit when you're wrong, but if you can do it in a setting where you suddenly felt comfortable, and you can see everybody go, yeah, fair enough, man. Good shit, and then it's done. You don't have that hanging over you anymore. So mentally, I think it helps. You know, that some of that mental health stuff. You know, because as you know, like it seems to be more than in today's world, our athletes seem to struggle with mental health a lot more than they did back in the day. I know there's a lot more stressors, but a lot of the things or the tools that were available back in the day to maybe address some of those stressors don't exist anymore, because one, we're not allowed to, and it's seen as not right. Yeah, you know.
There's a lot to be said for that old school culture. Hey, like work hard, and you've got the authorities at training that don't let you slip, and you go and have a beer, and you're responsible about it, and you get held accountable. And it is, it's missing a little bit these days.
I was speaking to Tom, and I hope he doesn't Robinson about it today. And I hope he doesn't, see this as wrong. Me talking out from, But he was saying about the most recent game. Like COVID's been really hard. Like just in terms of the dynamic of the team, because like especially like on the weekend, they had that amazing win against the Chiefs, which was kind of a, like next level of footy play. where they'd actually moved into another realm for that game. And wicked opportunity to celebrate that and cherish that, you know. But because of COVID, then they can't. Not allowed to, you know. And he said it was kind of stink, you know. I came out of it, it was going, whoa, and then it was just, all right, we're getting on a bus and we're going home. You know, it's so he says, and then because he said, and then he cheekily said, winked at me and said, oh, it must have been cool in your time. And I says, yeah, we would have had a shindig for sure.
Yeah. That's what it does. It's that altered state of consciousness that alcohol provides or creates, that same sort of sensation you get from when you go in the changing rooms, everyone's dancing around, hugging for, it's only a couple of minutes until it dies down. Alcohol gives you that freedom to, you know, lose the filters and express yourself more freely, which, yeah, obviously you can't do it in a professional environment.
I think where Tom was coming from a little bit, it was more that just, you know, just to be able to sit down and socialise and celebrate with the general public as well.
Because it was I might be wrong on this, but when those days supporters clubs and stuff were a big thing, right? You'd go and have a beer with the supporters after a game.
In Otago, we would go, as soon as the game finished, it got changed up. The first point of call was to go to the supporters club, and the supporters club would all know what you like drinking. And so this guy would come in and go, oh, Josh, there's your drink, mate. And I always had a Jack and Coke, you know? Yeah. And it was just like...
Nice touch, yeah.
And everyone had their own little thing that they liked drinking. And then obviously there was boys that just drink beer, but it was just, you know, like...
But there was no aggro,
the guys,
right? There was no aggro, right, from the supporters or anything?
No, mate, they loved us coming in, you know? Oh, they definitely sometimes go, whoa, have a little of this. But it was never, ever aggressive. Never, you know? The Supporters Club was a cool part of that whole package. But I think that, I think that changed too when, obviously... Supporters Club were a big part of what was the original Carisbrook. And their club was a dingy little part in the back, you know, and added to the whole flavour. You walk in through a couple of doors, you know, back doors through there and up over something, and then you walk in the back part of it, and they bring you down, and everybody would clap, and you'd have to walk past everyone. It was cool.
The Mulu Bar was a little bit like that in the back of Waikato Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I think of university days, like, the university club rooms was the most spectacular club rooms that I'd ever been. Like I've been to a lot of it. It was covered in dark velvet, crimson type velvet, and had little booths and little bits and pieces everywhere. And it was all like, you know, like turned wood and like little cordoned off areas and everything like that. And then a bar, and you used to walk in through the stadium, walk past our changing rooms, and it was this dingy little thing. And there could be a whole party going over there, and you could still have a little quiet piece over in the corner. And because everybody smoked in those days, it was just a haze of smoke about chest level all the way through it, and it was awesome, mate. And all the girls used to come, and like that was the starting point of finding out where we were going to go for the night. And then it was like a mad rush to get down to where we would get our free jugs. And whoever got there would smash those free jugs before everyone else would get there, get really trolleyed, and then we'd go to the party because that was, you know, that's just what happened in those days.
Fucking glory days.
I've heard you speak so positively about your university experience as well. Similar to what you're saying about high school in terms of mixing with different people.
I just grew as an individual. Like I became genuinely a different person from when from my childhood. Don't get me wrong, like the basis was formed, and my friends wouldn't say I was too different when I came back home. They may do, I don't know. But the key thing that I got exposed to so many unique things because of university. It's an incredible institute. It's the only place in all of society where everybody comes from different walks of life, social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and so diverse. The whole of samples from all over New Zealand, right? And you all come together and you've all got one thing in common. You're studying at this university. And that makes you connect. So suddenly, I got exposed to people that played music. Next thing I was learning
harmonica?
Yeah, learning to play guitar and harmonica, and then getting into bands and stuff like. I'd never done anything like that at school. Never even existed in my world, you know. And so you've just got all these little subgroups within the university which you can get exposed to. You know, like I can remember going to poetry evenings. You know, me going to a poetry evening and loving it, thinking it was the most fantastic thing. You know, they'd have wine and cheese, and it'd be in this. And you know, and I can even remember doing one poem myself. Yeah. You know, like it's just. But that's the cool thing, you know. Like it didn't matter that you're a little bit different. You could be different, and but you could connect with all these people, and that's what university does really well. And so I say to young people, like, if you don't know what you're doing, you know, because none of us know what we're doing. I'm like 50, and I still don't know what I'm doing these days, you know. But if you want to discover about yourself, go to something like an institute, like a university, because it's the biggest growth thing, you know. Like everybody at them, you know, like in today's world, we're so worried about what gender we are. We're so worried about how I'm perceived in this world, to the point that I'm anxious and worried about it. I'm so worried about failing and anxious. You know, we've got all these things that we're just stressing so hard about as young people. And whether that's social media or whatever that's caused it, but it doesn't actually matter. You don't need to worry about it. It all pans out. You find your way. But no one ever says that. They're going, oh, you know, this is the way you deal with it, or, you know, actually it's okay to not know. It's okay to be uncertain. Look, I can tell you, in my childhood, I had moments where I was uncertain about all of that stuff. I didn't have a clue. But because I was exposed to the real world and different things, I got little tools and little tips and little things that just made it okay. And that's, I feel sorry for our young people today, because they just constantly, you know, because of social media, I guess, created this false pressure that doesn't actually exist other than in their, you know.
It's really cool hearing you talk about these different aspects of university, and I want to bring it back because you're quite uniquely placed in that you were part of the transition to professional rugby.
Yeah.
So 20-year-old Josh Kronfeld is a PE student at university who's just beaten a full-strength Lions team.
Yes.
Anyone in that situation now who's 20 years old and just beaten a full-strength Lion, you're a locked-on certainty to be a professional rugby player, right? But that wasn't even a thought for you.
No, it wasn't even.
Professional rugby was still 3 years away.
No.
So, like, you're enjoying these aspects and parts of university and culture and doing different things, whereas someone in those shoes now would be locked on to rugby, right?
They would be.
Because it was 24, right? You made your black debut. Have I got that right?
Late in today's world. Yeah, today's world. I would have loved to have made it at 21. Gee, I was so much faster and quicker and stronger.
But did you consider rugby as a career
look,
at that point?
It's pretty. The whole process is pretty funny. Like I remember, you know, like in terms of professionalism, there was like you could get someone to maybe put a little bit of pay a little bit of your rent. You might get a sack of meat to take back to the flat.
Meat sack.
You know?
Exactly. Good game, Josh. He's a meat sack.
Yeah.
Petrol vouchers?
Yeah, full of sausages and corned beef. And then you'd go, well, I don't like Silverside, but my poly boys do. And then we could trade off stuff. You know, like that was kind of the start of it, I guess. And then obviously at the top level, they were doing deals with big brands and stuff, and employing the boys, and so there was an essence of it starting to breathe, but no one even conceived that it was going to go professional. I remember traveling with my girlfriend, and I would have been 19 at that time, just sort of maybe 20, just on the cusp of sort of breaking into that Otago side of things, and I would have just got into the Otago side of things, and we came back over the Christmas holidays, and we went traveling. I borrowed my mum and dad's van. We went traveling around, sleeping in the back of the van, and we came over to Raglan, and we stopped off in Raglan, and I walked past this house, and on the front gate had for sale, and and we'd been there a couple of days, and I've been surfing and loving the place. And I says, when rugby goes professional, I'll buy that place. And we laughed about it, and we joked and everything like that, and went down and I surfed and everything like that. Didn't think anything of it. And then jump on, another four years or whatever it is, and rugby's gone professional. I ended up buying that place.
Wow.
It came up on sale again. And so, what a crazy journey to where we ended up.
Do you catch wind that professional rugby is coming? Are you thinking, oh shit, I might be in here?
No, dude, I'm oblivious to most things. If you ask any of my mates, I'm the most ignorant man. I've always thought that being ignorant is blissful. Yeah. Because the less you know, you can obviously get out of trouble because I don't know. And you don't digest stuff if you don't know it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's hurt or there's negativity, you're not taking it in because you just didn't know. It's an intriguing world for today people. Like in terms of, because we've got so much information getting chucked at us all the time that we're having to digest. And I quite like the fact that, I think the best thing I ever learned was not reading newspapers. I remember coming home after, I've been successful, so it would have been maybe 96, 97, and I had bought my first ever computer. And I mean, it was kind of newish in those days, that, in sort of 96, to own a
in Carter 96.
yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I had this flash computer, and I came home and from a footing evening, but it was early, and I wasn't quite ready to go to bed, and I thought, I'll sit on the computer, and I started, just looking around and stuff, and then I thought, wonder what happens when you type your own name in. So I typed my own name in, and for whatever reason, I ended up on this chat room, and these guys were going to town on me, like absolutely bagging the shit. And there's one guy just defending me, like all the way through it. And they were going on about how great Dwayne Monkley was, and he was a great player, mate. And I don't argue with anything they were saying, but the stuff they were saying about me was kind of personal, like in terms of the attack and everything like that. And I read it, and for about 2 days, I was moping around. I was so affected by it. I couldn't believe that someone would think that about me. I'm not that person. I would never be like that. You know what I mean? And so it just highlighted me. Actually, being ignorant is good. And I stopped reading newspapers. I stopped watching any media, and so it just meant that whenever anything came up, someone would go, "Oh, I saw da-da-da, and you were da-da-da." I said, "Oh, really?" Just didn't know.
So where does ignorance versus consciousness come into play with the World Rugby Council after the 95 World Cup? So the entire All Black squad is basically signing up to join this rogue sort of World Rugby Council corporation, right?
Corporation? What rugby
Zinni
corporation?
and Robin Brewer.
So all our senior members, they've been talking, all right? So pre 95 World Cup, and it had been mentioned to us that there was something in the pipeline. We didn't know much about it, and then after the final, we stopped off, and I think we might have gone over and played Australia, and they pulled us all into a room, and then we got the full details. And that was kind of how professionalism started. They did say to us that there's a chance we might not be All Blacks if we signed with that particular thing. And I remember thinking, well, geez, I've only played 6 games with the All Blacks. And originally I never thought I wanted to be an All Black. And then when I decided I wanted to be an All Black, and I've only got 6 games in my belt, because I'm thinking now, if I'm an All Black, I want to be a good All Black. That was my thought process. And it was like, well, I'd like to continue being an All Black if that's the case, And
just to frame for those who don't know what we're talking about, this is before Super Rugby starts, and there's a proposition to pull the All Blacks away to a different competition.
That's
right?
Correct, yes.
And you and Jeff Wilson stood up.
We did. Initially, we'd signed an agreement with everybody else that we would go forward with the process as it was, as everything was getting. But the problem was, we weren't getting told all the truth. And because all the teams that were sort of top 4 teams in New Zealand at that time had been in Super 8 and Super 10, this is pre-professionalism, but it was the start of that particular competition. We've been made friends with guys in South Africa and guys in Australia. So we had a network outside. So we started talking to them. And so our top All Black boys were telling us one thing. And then we go, oh, really? Really? So everybody signed from everywhere. And then we go through our networks and they'd say, none of the side, like, no one signed. You know, we're going, what?
Yeah.
And then I remember Jeff Wilson coming in at like about 6:30, 7 o'clock, because you didn't lock your doors in those days. He comes barging into the bedroom. Jeff, what do you need, mate? What's going on? He goes, they've gone. They've all gone. They've all gone. And I said, what do you mean they've all gone? He says, the Otago boys have all signed with the New Zealand Rugby Union. So that actually changed the thought process, because like we're meant to stay together as a group and try and get this other competition over the line. And because the Otago boys had all signed with New Zealand Rugby Union, that became a real issue. And then I said to Jeff, well, Bud, we've been dealing with the current senior players and whatnot, and they've been telling us one thing, and then our boys have been telling us another. Who do you trust the most out of this? And he says, well, they're Otago boys. And I said, well, have you just answered your question, what we're going to do? And he goes, oh, yeah, I guess we have. And I says, well, sweet, then fuck off.
But that clarity of thought, or that where did that come from? Like, was it just purely that loyalty to that group of players that you'd spent so much time with?
I think so. Like, mate, it's like anything, man. I learned, in that All Black scene that, like, yes, we were a tight group, and yes, we played rugby together, but there was a lot of looking after yourself in there as well. And, and you learned very quickly that you needed to look after yourself. Whereas in the Otago side and setup, everybody looked after everybody, and that was one of the moot sort of ground unwritten rules. Like, I know if I was in the bottom of a ruck, someone was kicking the shit out of me, the guy that was getting the shit was kicking the shit out of me would not probably leave that, would probably not end up continuing playing on the game. There was that sort of coverage, and I'm not saying it was different, or but there were some differences between the two teams, in terms of that sort of thing.
Does it create friction in the squad when you guys are getting pulled in different directions? When you come back together, like, do you address it in a court session like you talked about, or?
Oh, with the Otago we would have, yeah. I don't think that would have happened with the All Blacks. I mean, you got the only reason, people was asking you, do you still hang out with your All Black mates? And I say, yeah, when we catch up at functions or whatever, and there's a few that that you're tighter than that, but you're only mates because you come together to play on that team. You haven't forged those long-term bonds that sort of surpass the time. Whereas in Otago setup, man, like, a lot of those guys that were in that Otago side were guys from the university times, and like there's a real connection just outside of rugby. So, look, it was special, man. I can't say anything negative about my time in Dunedin. I loved that place. It was, like I said, it was a birth of me. I just grew as an individual, and I had so much fun doing what I did. Yeah. Like even the negative and all the wrong shit that went down at different times in my life, which happens to everybody. Yeah. I'd do it all again, exactly the same. It was just so much fun.
You've done so much in your life, and I'm wondering, when you get asked, when you get talking about rugby, is there one question that keeps popping up? Is it 95 World Cup? what happened with the food poisoning?
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that-
that crops up a lot. And then the greatest player that you played against and stuff like that. 95. Look, would we have beaten them if we hadn't got sick? Probably. I always said to people, like, that team, we could have played them 10 times, and 9 out of 10 times we would have beaten them. And ironically, the 10 times that if you go back in history from the time that they beat us, and from 96 through, we had played them 10 times, and they only beat us once.
It was that one.
That one. But I also feel there was something bigger going on in that whole crazy coffee pot of crazy, like brewing away in South Africa.
I'm really curious about post-apartheid, because it was only 4 years post-apartheid, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so they just returned, and like we've been over a couple of years. I've been over maybe 2 or 3 times previously before that World Cup, and it was really apartheid was still part of it there, and like you didn't see any. If we were in the white area, we didn't see any blacks, and I mean that's the bit. I don't know if I'm saying it PC correctly. I don't know, but you just didn't. And then when we went over to in that World Cup, you started to see a little bit more of that mixing. And then when we were going and training, all the black population would come out and they'd be chanting "Go black, go black," and be in our corner. And then you go to the games and walk past the white population, they'd be spitting on you because you're a Kiwi, and just
you're sharing a team with other ethnicities.
Yeah. So it was just kind of it was, and then there was guns, and it was just this incredible energy always going on, in the car parks. The alarms were always going off every night, and even it was just really unique and dynamic, and even how South Africa made it into the finals. The games that they had to get through to get there was like there was always some crazy event, like the heavens opening up against France.
Was it the Gold Watch? Is that the?
Well, no, that was the final bit. But the heavens opening up, and remember that they postponed
They delayed the kickoff, didn't they?
for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And the French were down at the ground for the 6 hours, while the South Africans were at their hotel for it. And it was just. Remember, they were mopping up It was nuts. Yeah. And then there was the disallowed try that still to this day the French will say it shouldn't have been disallowed. So and then there were events in the final as well where we could have won it. But I think possibly because of mental attrition from being so many of our guys being sick, we just weren't quite there to make good decisions.
You were healthy, right? You chose the beef over the chicken or something?
Yeah,
like
I ate beef over chicken.
Always choose beef over chicken.
I don't know if it was in the beef as well, but the chicken, was make your own burgers. And the chicken burgers were green. And I remember asking the guy, well, what are those? And he goes, they're chicken burgers. I said, green chicken? Nah, I don't think he knows. And I ate the beef burgers. And I remember going to the toilet maybe 5 times that night, but just, diarrhea, sort of nothing too serious. And then the next day I was fine. But for a few of the other boys, they were just chundering, and
do you have a crisis meeting? Like you're waking up, everyone's so sick. You're like, what are we doing?
They got us. They brought us together and said there was something going on, and I still didn't even understand, even till game day. Again, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, there were moments where we could have turned that game into our own. We just our senior members had a bit of brain fog, I think.
Talk to us about being in the presence of Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
What is that actually like? Because I don't know too many people that have met him.
Do you want the truthful answer?
Go on.
All right. So, when I warm up for a rugby game, how I sit there and jiggle, right? Because for me, when I first started playing footy, it was about getting warmed up, come out, humming to play footy, right? And then as you get up further in your levels, you get all of a sudden you go from starting right when the whistle, run out, whistle goes, play game, right? To suddenly, you got to go out, you've got to do a haka, or you've got to sing a national anthem, or in our case, 2 anthems,
And then you meet dignitaries.
South Africa, they've got 2 now.
Yeah.
And so it's like suddenly from starting from when the whistle, the referee pulls you out the tunnel and going straight on and playing, you've gone from 10 minutes to 20 minutes to 40 minutes to an hour before you actually play. And so for me, it was all about like shaking out and getting in the zone and being in full rugby Josh mode, and no other empty baggage. But I remember Nelson Mandela walking down and thinking, what the fuck are they doing now? Because, there was a lot of stuff going on. Like
the plane flew over as well?
there was all sorts. Yeah, I didn't see that. But,
Ignorance is bliss.
yeah, ignorance is bliss. But the whole stadium shook when it went over.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, see, I just want to play rugby. I'm in my zone. I've hit my zone, and I'm ready to go. And it's like everybody tells you about there's an arousal. If you're too over aroused, headless chicken. If you're under aroused, you don't get it. So I'm trying to keep myself bang on that right spot. Next thing, there's this dude walking down and shaking hands, and I'm saying, what? And then I realised it was Nelson Mandela, and I was thinking, fuck, Nelson Mandela. Wow, And then I went rugby. And then I looked up at the ceiling, and I'm going, and I'm looking up, and as I look up, and I'm shaking, and jiggling, and I notice there's all the way across the top of that stadium, it's like surrounded like that, is guys in full SAS black smock, with sniper rifles looking over the thing, and I'm thinking, fuck, man, this is a moment. This is a stage for someone to make a statement. Like someone's going to shoot this bugger, and I don't know, mate, but I do say when he shook my hands, I might have moved my head. But who has? And so this is genuine. I was having those thoughts as he was coming down, shaking hands.
Yeah.
Like that's just not right. Like
Good
I should have been
presence of
having
mind.
rugby thoughts. So
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. The other moment, of course, in '95 is Jonah against England.
Yeah.
I'd love. There's lots of reasons I was excited to get you on, but I'd love a little Jonah interlude if you'll indulge us. I'd love to hear from someone who is so close to him, to perhaps educate listeners who didn't see him play in his prime, have seen a few highlights. But like, how big and fast was he? Like, what combination of strength and power and speed?
Well, if I put both my thighs together like that was one of his thighs.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Definitely these days as well. And he was like, he was 6'4", was he?
6'4", yeah.
Yep, 6'4". So basically, he was a lock that could run under 11 seconds for the 100. Now that's not normal, And he was 100 whatever plus kgs in those days. I think at his best he was 118. And so he had all these crazy attributes in terms of skill sets. But I guess the best description I can give you is I remember we were playing against counties in Pukekohe with Otago. And I saw them, it was always part of my, I think, I had great vision for reading shit, so I could turn up at situations at the right time. And I could see him in my peripheral, because it's a big part of the peripheral. Yeah. And I could see him coming, and I knew he was coming into the back line, and I read it perfect. And so just as he got the ball, I hit him as hard as I could, and fully leveled him. I felt him fold in half, and felt the knee drop, and I knew I'd leveled him. And then I was on the ground, and I looked up, and he ran through John Leslie and scored under the post. Yeah. And I'm looking, and I look at my hands in frustration to go, how did he get through me? And I've got 2 pieces of his shorts in my hand,
Wow.
in both hands.
Yeah.
And I, even the technology couldn't bloody stop.
Did you know about him at Hastings Boys when he was coming through Wesley?
No, because
social media didn't exist, eh?
Jonah's what would he be? What, 4 years younger than me? Yeah, but he, he was playing well above his age bracket very quickly.
When you're playing against him for counties, he's playing for counties. Is there like talk in the lead up to the game? Like, shit, is Jonah going to be playing? Is there talk in the changing room? Like, do you make it a big deal, or was he not?
No,
quite at
I
that
don't
point?
think so. I think most of us will address like that's a weapon, but at the same time, Otago had its own weapons, and they'd be doing the same thing.
Paul Cook.
Oh yeah, Cookie was. Cookie was highest try scorer in the NPC a number of years, but never got given the big job.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was a shame. In 1993, I think he had like 17 tries for the season. I couldn't understand why they didn't take him away to England.
Sorry, I hijacked you, Jonah. Your Jonah chat, Steve.
I'm still in Jonah. Okay, so AB's training or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's some absolute whippets. You played with Christian Cullen and Jeff Wilson and Jonah. You were gas. Before you injured your ankle, you were fast.
Yep.
Like, how do you compare? Like, are there little sprint drills where you can see which of those and how much faster is Jonah?
They do testing. Like, to be honest, I think from my memory, the quickest person in my time of playing footy was actually Joelle Venderi.
Yeah, really.
So, like, I think he was like being off the spot, like that first 5 meters is like, and doing it in like 1:85. He was like 1:45 or some shit
Wow.
like that. Like something crazy. Look, I could be inventing numbers there.
Yeah.
Shit, but I just know that he was like a whole another 30% quicker than anyone that was quick.
We spoke about him on. We had Kieran Reid on, and Kieran Reid was talking about the game when counties came down to Rugby Park, as it was then, and Joelle just teared Waikato up. But how phenomenal! Like that time of rugby was such a great time.
Yeah, look,
And they fucked it up with the Central Vikings.
Yeah, people always ask me, you talk about those questions that people always ask me, and they go, "What was better, the professional rugby or amateur?" And I can safely say I feel blessed that I got to play both. If I'd finished my career, I would have been disappointed I never got paid for it. In the amateur scene, but I got to do both, and the amateur side was the most magical rugby. It's just hands down, because there's nothing in it other than just playing. There's no repentance or reparation for what you're doing, money. It just wasn't there. You might have got a beer or something like that.
Yeah. For those watching the video, you'll see Josh light up when he talks amateur rugby. Like it's all over your face. I guess on the other side of that was when you get into Leicester. Was that to get some money?
I wanted to change. Like if I could do it all again, that's probably one thing in my career I would. Don't get me wrong. When I went to Leicester, it was a unique experience, and the fans are awesome. Like, they were wicked. And I had this great group of people that would come and see me after every game, and it was awesome. It was awesome. There was that whole sort of feel, that I guess Otago feeling in that respect to the fans. They might have had a bit of that one-eyed Canterbury side to them as well, but when you're playing for a team, that doesn't really matter. But they were just cool. But going to Leicester was probably a poor decision. It was just more frustration than enjoyment. Like in my first year, I had a number of random, unique injuries, and I didn't get to play a lot. But I didn't play any for the entire time I was at the club. I don't think I ever played in any semi-finals or finals.
Yeah, really.
And yet I was on the bench. So there was some issues with the coaches at different times, and I just couldn't get my head around it. Like in my second year there was just random things, like they hadn't been playing me, and then so we start off the pre-seasons, and I'm warming up and I'm feeling good and everything like that. And they says, "Oh, look, can you look for another club? We can't really afford to pay you." And I just went, "I've just bought a house, like, and you've just told me that, And I went, because that was the thing you did in those days. You bought a house where you were staying, and then you just sell it when you leave, and so I went, "Oh, okay." And I didn't really look that hard. I thought, stuff them, I'm still going to get paid, that's all right. And ironically, their 2-star open sides all got injured, and suddenly they needed me. And so I started playing footy. And I started playing footy really well, because I guess I was a bit pissed off as well, And that year it was pretty magical for me, but was not for our club. We didn't have a very successful year. But I got, I got Player of the Year at the end of the year, to give you an example, But if the bloody administration had been picking it, I wouldn't have been getting anything.
Yeah.
And so I found that really tough to deal with that sort of stuff, because I enjoyed the rugby, and the culture there was a bit weird in terms of how they treated a lot of their younger players. And I bumped into one of them a year or so ago at an event, and he said he just wanted to say, "Oh, thanks, man." I said, "What for?" And he says, "Dude, you were the shining light for us, and for the juniors when you were there, because none of the senior players looked twice at us."
Wow.
But I could just see but that culture worked for them. That team won a number of Heineken Cups and national and local championships, and then on the flip side, most of that team was the 2003 World Cup holders. So that ingredient worked, but it was it was a sign of the times. Changing the guard. You've got to really look after your young people, and I found the old fellas bloody boring to hang out with. I used to go and hang out with the young fellas. They always had great stories for the weekend.
Bit of energy. You kind of glossed over it there with injuries. Like, how much of your career were you hurt or injured or week to week? Because you threw yourself into games. Like, you really put your body on the line.
Yeah, I think for me, I was pretty lucky. My injuries always seemed to happen at really random times, so I tended not to miss too much of, say, All Black rugby, which is, I guess that's if you wanted to miss rugby, that's the rugby you wouldn't want to miss, But I actually missed a couple of Super 12 seasons, or 15 in that as well. Through one was the ankle, when I blew that out in France. Walking out onto the ground, which is pretty crazy. Yeah.
Was that talk us through walking out on the ground, blowing your ankle out?
So I in the final against Auckland, I rolled it pretty badly, and so they said that I could go out on tour. It was the French tour at the end of '95, and should be right to play the tests. If I do all my homework right. So I just worked and did all my homework right. And then they said, right, we need you to play this game in Bayonne. I can't remember which team we were playing at the time, and I felt confident about playing it. And I've been having a bit of a tight calf on that side, so I wanted to have a quick massage, then get strapped up, and then go out and play. And ironically, as I didn't strap my ankle because I was coming in for the massage, and one of the boys was behind me. He saw it happen. I stood on a stone that just rolled my ankle, but so we were walking through the tunnel. They had a side tunnel because they were doing some alterations.
Right.
So anyway, I ended up standing in a pothole basically, and my ankle just went all the way over, flipped right over, and it was gone. It was destroyed, like no ligaments left, And so I hopped in through the door in a bit of pain. I had pain that time.
Yep.
Yeah. And the doc, they took me over to the side room, and I remember sitting in the room. There was the doc, the physio, and the doc was playing with my ankle. Laurie Mains was here, and Colin Meads was there, and the doc just grabbed my ankle and he just bent it over, and it just kept rolling all the way over, and there was no pain. There was no pain. But it just kept going.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, "Oh, it's fucked. He's gone." And I just burst into tears, and then I started laughing, and then I started crying, and then I started laughing again, going, "What the fuck?" You know, I was having all these emotions, all in front of Sir Colin Meads, the toughest man of New Zealand rugby.
Yeah.
And Rick Solito, who was our media manager in those days, he told me afterwards that Tree came out. He goes, "What do I do? What do I do, Rick? I've got one of my boys in there. He's crying. I don't know what to do. And he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it, mate. He probably just needs a moment. He'll be right." And to his credit, about, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes later, he comes in, he goes, and he throws an All Black jersey at me. He goes, "Yeah, take this home, lad. Don't tell anyone." So it's an official one. It's got the label and everything like that. And you're not meant to get a jersey on tour when you
Unless you
play.
play, yeah.
A test. No, you wouldn't have got that game. I wouldn't have got one for playing that game. Just a test. So I got to take that home, which is pretty funny.
Was that the tour that you were going to do the no nukes in my backyard on the headgear?
Yeah.
So you weren't able to.
Yeah. So
Gave you some
again,
advice on that,
Colin Meads, I got in a lot of trouble for that. So because I wore it playing against the Waikato, I think, from memory, and I got this letter in the post, and then I remember I had to go and see them at a function, the All Black management, and at a meeting, and then Tree said to me, took me aside, and he says, "Look, I don't want to see that headgear for the rest of the time that we're here. When we get over France, I don't give a fuck."
Where did that conscientious kind of objection to that situation come from?
I don't,
'Cause I stand by it.
I'm not a massive eco person or greenie, but I just think some things are just damn wrong. And like if nuclear testing is so safe, why are you doing it in the Pacific Ocean and not in France? You know, why are you doing it right next to your people that are supposed to be your citizens? You know, it was just horrendous. You know, and I mean, I didn't know all the facts, and it just seemed, I don't know, that particular time or whatever, I didn't realise it was going to create such a
Shitstorm.
Yeah, I just didn't realise.
I
remember myself and my girlfriend at the time, Holly Mills. We were talking about it, and she goes, "Oh, you should do it." And I was going, "Oh, I don't know, probably, you know." But we decided to do it, and I remember sitting down there with my headgear, twink.
It was twink, wasn't it?
Twink, you know, but not a twink pen, but you know the one that you paint. Remember the one?
Yeah.
Painting.
How many of those did you have to go through?
No, just one bottle. One
Must have
bottle.
been thin font.
Oh, dude, I was good at what I did. And a funny thing was, because like all my headgears with Canterbury at the time, because it used to be Body Armour that owned and they sold that to Canterbury, and so I pretty much was I guess integral in the development of that headgear and what the final design was, and so like the deal was I would always have like a different version
bedtime.
Have a different version of what was available in the market, you know. But it kind of pissed me off because I remember I used to have all these multicoloured ones and everything like that, and then all of a sudden other guys would start having these. I was going, "Wait, man, that was the
That's my
deal.
thing.
That was my thing."
Are you quite proud of 23, 24-year-old Josh who made that statement, sort of put your head above the pit?
Yeah, I guess I am. Like I just didn't. I don't think part of me didn't know exactly what I was doing either. You know, it just seemed like a good idea, and it would have been. The French would have loved it.
Yeah.
They love that sort of stuff. You know, any good, you know, protest. They were into it.
They don't mind confrontation, do they?
No, well, they encourage it.
Yeah.
You know, they love that the emotion. It probably would have been a significant thing for them. You know, I've spoken to a few French reporters at different times, and they've all said it would have been amazing for it to have happened. Because I think a lot of France were negative about it as well. So, I mean, the photo that with it, because I had the no nukes on the moon boot, ended up being quite a, I guess, sort of, I don't know if the word's famous, but like a notable photo that went with that headgear scenario.
But before we leave headgear, have I got my memory right that when you first started playing, you rocked the shaved head and the headgear?
Yeah. Now, if I'd known my hair was going to fall out,
well, no,
I wouldn't have been shaving my head, man.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Was that there was no need to do that? I just thought that was like a rough shaved head, hard look, and then I realised you've got a full head of hair. Like, there's no issue. There's no need to go so soon.
Yeah, no,
so short, so early.
It was kind of kitsch, I guess, at the time. You know, it was. I remember doing it.
Because was it the full blade?
Yeah, it was eventually. Initially, it was just like that. Remember the Mike Tyson's look? We had the full shave with just that that kind of number one-ish
like a buzz, like a marine cut.
But he had that little, but it all kind of went at the front there. I was running that for a little bit, and then I
can't picture that
from longish
right
to that, and I went under the headgear. This is actually quite good because the headgear gets quite hot. And the more hair you got on, the hotter it gets. So it actually worked quite well. I don't know. It was like I said, like everything's thinning there now. I'm almost a comb over. You know, I've got it all coming forward, trying to hide it.
Why do you think he's wearing a hat?
Yeah, I'm a hat guy now for very similar reasons.
If I'd known, I would have enjoyed long hair for that whole period.
I want to move on to post-rugby, but you woke up one day, I've heard you say, and you knew that it was over. You knew it was time to hang him up. Any regrets about how it ended?
No. I was done, mate.
What's that feeling like, waking up and going, I'm not going to do this anymore? Is it liberating? Is it a tinge of sadness?
Do you know, like, I don't think I had any sort of negative thoughts about it or positive thoughts about it. I was excited about next parts of the journey, you know. But I hadn't put a lot of thought in it. All I remember is, I remember the morning like it was tomorrow, you know, or yesterday. Sorry, that's the expression. But I rolled over and I stuck my feet on the floor, and got sharp pains up my feet, and I went, "Fuck, I hate this. I'm done." And that was it. That's it. I knew at the end of that season I was going to finish. And again, you know, flicking back. I said to the club that I was done, and they wanted me to play for 6 months, and they kept punting, and I did end up staying for an extra 6 months because I thought the money was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that, although that vision or that I knew that I was done, and I still played the extra 6 months, I was really, and actually I guess maybe that's why it made it so easy, because I did that next 6 months and went, yeah, this is a good decision. You know, it felt really right. And then I came back to New Zealand, and I sort of packed up everything from England and New Zealand and travelled for a year.
Where'd you go?
I went I went back through the UK into America and did all the west coast of America from north to south. From south to north.
It's by yourself?
Yep, on a Harley Davidson. And
is that the sort of thing you dream about doing, but you couldn't because you're always playing rugby? Like,
I don't know if I dreamed about it. I just went, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it just seemed, I don't know, logical. Someone had mentioned about doing it, something like that, and I just thought, okay, I'll do that. And so I just had my bike with a tent on it. And so and it was sort of off season, so most of everything was just an honesty box. So you put your money in the envelope in the honesty box, and I'd turn up into camping grounds and there'd be nobody there, be like empty. and I didn't even think about it. Like I used to have all my food with me on me because like beers and shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. But maybe they were about to go to sleep or just
Ignorance
waking up.
is bliss.
I don't know. Ignorance is bliss. But I didn't. They were the only animal I didn't see. I saw a bobcat and stuff like that. But I just travelled all up the coast and then yo-yoed down through the west side of the Rockies and down into that 4-state where they all meet, and then across to Austin, Texas. I thought, I've got to go to Texas. I'm going to Austin they had this blues festival thing that was going to be on. So I did like, all right, I looked on the map and I'm going, oh yeah, okay, that's not very far on the map. It's like solid 2 days of 10-hour driving, like straight to get across there, get there, and then pull up and have the most amazing time. Ended up buying a pair of cowboy boots. That was the other reason I wanted to go to Austin. I wanted cowboy boots. And then I came back through and did all the Grand Canyon and down through the bottom of New Mexico, and then back to LA, dropped the bike off. I did laugh when I dropped the bike off. I was thinking, I just need to get a motel around where I have to drop the bike off because I arrived in the evening. And everywhere I was going, they're going, I said, I just want to have a hotel. Got a room? And they're going, for a night? And I was going, yeah. And they go, nah. And I go, okay. So then I'll drive to the next one. And they go, oh, I just want to get a room for the night. For a whole night? And they go, yeah. And they go, nah. And then finally I got this one that rented me. And then I walked in and there was like porn playing on the thing. And what I'd realised, like I'd only had to have gone like 1 kilometre further along and then I would have got normal hotels. But the area that I was all the porno, like with people going, get a girl for the night sort of thing.
No, for an hour.
not for an hour.
Not for the night, for an hour, yeah.
For an hour. So it was hilarious. And then from there, I flew from San Diego up to New York, to LA, and then across to Santiago, and in Chile, and bought a truck, and pretty much got stuck in Chile. Really, I was meant to go over the border, but when I bought the truck, you get a license for the truck, and it has your photo on it, but I couldn't get it because I wasn't a resident of Chile. So I had a letter of dedication or whatever you want to call it, say that I had this vehicle to use. And but every time I try to get over the border, I'd get arrested.
Yeah.
And so
La Policia wouldn't let that run.
No. And so yeah, there was lots of little funny incidents. Got put in jail for 4 hours once, and just travelled all the Chile's amazing. Like it's it's 3 times the length of New Zealand, and it's only as wide as our probably narrowest part of it's that sort of.
So schoolboy rugby, go to university away from your hometown and travel.
Yeah, well, I travelled as a rugby player, but I hadn't travelled. I hadn't done it like my mates. Like they'd all finished university and did the big OE overseas. I never got to do that. So, but I knew I needed to do some travel, and so when I did 6 months in Chile, a month in Peru, a month in or just under a month in Easter Island.
Really? Rapa Nui?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was sick.
Are you using this time alone travelling to figure out like what the second act's going to be? Like you've done so much since you finished playing
I applied for
rugby.
university again while I was away, and I almost didn't come back, to be honest. I was enjoying it that much. There was a moment, but I ended up coming back and going back to uni and studying as a physio.
4 years?
3 years, because I was able to use one of my previous degree.
Is it true you went to more 21sts in the second act of your university stint than the first?
I probably did, yes. I probably true. That is pretty true, man. I did get invited to a lot of 21st.
And
I think I was just because I was a token All Black.
I was going to say, did people know that you were Josh Kronfeld ex-All Black, or are they just like, it's just Josh, the adult student?
They did.
He's just a good dude. Like,
oh, it was so funny. So, I mean, you see, this is where some other connections happen, you know, and wonderful connections. The 660 boys, they were in our team, and we coached them. John Leslie and I used to coach them, so I made that connection, and so got to be part of their little initial journey as well.
Yeah,
and just, you know, so that was kind of cool. They always used to make me laugh, you know, like, you know, it's so funny going to university as an adult, second time round. And especially in physio, like they literally just layer work on work on work on work, and all expect you to have it come out at the same time, rather than going, oh, we're going to have our assignment finished here. We'll get you know. So there's a progression. So you just got a steady lot of work. They just freak you out, and people are having mental breakdowns, and girls are crying and everything like that. And they go, oh, Josh, you want to come to a study group and run a? And I go, oh, no. And they go, why not? And I go, I'm going to go for a surf. It's like, how can you be surfing at this time? I said, well, it's pumping. You know, they couldn't get their head around that whole thing. But I knew that actually, you know, like if you've done enough, then that's okay. That'll be enough to pass the exam. You know, I didn't need to be stressing about it. Stress isn't going to help me. Yeah. You know, either I've done enough or I haven't, you know. And if I haven't, then I'll fail. But, you know, like, and so it just made that whole thing so easy. But it just cracks me up. I reckon the university actually do it on purpose to freak young people out. Yeah. Life doesn't get that busy as it does in university at that one specific moment in the year, you know?
It's so funny to me, you sharing these conversations with a 20-year-old student, and you've got like so much worldly experience about how the world works. And you've played in Leicester, and you've played in World Cup finals, and you've travelled US. No, it's okay. Like,
just imagine you rocking up to the parties as well, being like,
oh yeah. They always wanted to do kickstands. I was going to say, no,
he's got the best drinking games. Honestly, his drinking games are amazing.
I'm not going to do a kickstand. And oh, come on, man, you're soft. Yeah, I'm soft. Okay. Every now and then, like you pull out, like, you know, like they go, how tough they are, and like, because like back in the day, got quite good at doing, you know,
a jug skull,
and like really quick, quite good. And so you used to be able to go, all right, okay, then fine.
I'll do one,
and you just go, oof, and then you just put it down. They go,
it's so good. Oh man, where does the celebrity Treasure Island and the Dancing with the Stars fit in the university journey? Is it post?
Yeah, it's all post.
Qualification?
All come back. Look, I really enjoyed the first one. It's the one that Lana got sick in. I thought she was putting it on. She was such a bitch on the show. And so when she got sick, I thought, she just wants to go home.
She nearly died, eh?
I know, she nearly died when I found out. Because I made it into the final, so I didn't find out till I came back that she'd almost died. And I felt so guilty for having those thoughts.
And how much truth is there to you shitting yourself thinking, if Simon Barnett beats me, I can't come back to New Zealand?
He was never going to be.
Yeah, but, you know, was there a little thought thinking, if he does beat me?
I remember there was this segment where they were dragging us behind this boat, and you're literally underwater, and they're dragging you under, you know, like, and I was thinking, there's no way I'm letting go. There's no way I'm letting go. And I didn't realise that he'd let go ages before me. and it meant that I had like a 200-metre head start, so he was never going to catch up. But, I did think of it a little bit.
And it's legit, right? Like, they don't give you food and all of that stuff. Like, it's
it is to a degree. So, like,
this is my niche area, is reality
so
TV.
In the start, you know, I might be giving stuff away, but because it is celebrity Treasure Island, you can't imagine that you're not going to let the girls put their makeup on,
right?
Or not feed them, because if you don't feed them,
particularly that first series as well, by the way,
they don't do well if they're not fed. There's stuff to be considered. You know, like, is that a nice way of putting it? You know, like that whole process of, you know, like the hangry person. That definitely exists. But I found the whole thing quite interesting, like, you know, across the board, just mentally how people react when they're not getting food and stuff like that.
That's why I like it, as a study of human behaviour under pressure.
But I'll tell you one story, right? So I'm from the first one. So this is a celebrity one. It came back, and so I finished it, and you're not allowed to say anything. You know you've won it, everything like that. And then all of a sudden, this woman's weekly comes out, and it goes, and it's bagging me as being just basically saying he's a wanker and he's been mean to one of the girls on the thing. And I was never mean to anyone on the thing. I never even had an argument with anyone, you know, like I was like, never said a horrible thing to anyone. And then I'm watching, so the final show comes around with a show it, and they show me going off, and I realised, and I was thinking, I never did that to anyone. And then I realised I'd had a Barney with the head producer of the show.
Oh,
because she was changing rules, and to me, you cannot change rules.
Yeah,
that's just you can't change rules midstream. And I went, so this is Julie Christie. I went off at her, and she's tough cookie, man. She deals with guys. She speaks to you like a guy, you know. So we're having a full head-to-head Barney at each other, you know, like, and the cameraman switched it on, recorded the whole thing, right? And so then they took the best parts where I wasn't swearing and used that to make out that I had an argument with this girl when she had a moment for something else.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
real creative editing.
I couldn't believe it. This is reality TV. But you know the thing that cracked me up the most about it? So you're sitting there, and you know how you have, like, an incident happens, and then you have people talking about the incident, right? In that incident, I'm in I have three completely different looks. All right? So I'm completely shaven at the first one, all right? Or in one of them. So that would have been right at the start of the show, of the 16 days. And then the next one, I have a full beard. And then the next one, I have a moustache.
so if you didn't pick that on the edit, you're
a bloody moron if you haven't picked that up.
You'd be raging.
But you know, it used to sell. That stuff would sell, and then
still does.
But I enjoyed that show. I mean, what a lot of people wouldn't know is, like, I remember we weren't meant to be together, but everyone sort of went stuff it, and we would light a bonfire every night. I would kind of keep it going during the day on the beach, and everybody would come in, like, there was Charlotte Dawson, Lana, the girls all would come over, and then it'll be all our guys, and we'd all sit around the fire. And the conversations were amazing because, like, it was pitch black at 6 o'clock, and so you'd hang around till maybe 9 o'clock, and then you'd all go to bed basically because there was nothing else to do. But you'd have these conversations, and you know, Simon is quite a religious man. So we had these amazing conversations about religion, and then because everyone had from different walks of life, you know, Maz Quinn, surfer, and
successful people from different walks of life.
Yeah. And so, like, there was all these different views, and then I loved Charlotte Dawson. What an amazing woman, and so just so disappointing to see her pass the way she passed. You know, like, just and sorry for her. You know, so got to know everybody really, but every show or every day there'd be one person would disappear out of the group, so the group would get smaller and smaller and smaller. It's quite a unique thing. But then I got roped into doing the second one, which was the Superstars, where the winner gets to take all, and you know, you got to keep the prize winning, and wow, that was a different dynamic. That was, because I kept saying to Julie, I'm not doing it, 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 not doing it. And she finally twisted my arm enough, and I did it. And oh my goodness, it was evil. It was evil.
Yeah.
Because the money was for real. The backstabbing was for real.
Yeah, really.
You know, all the shit was going on. But the funny thing is, like, we weren't meant to hang out, but my mate Brent Todd was in the other team, and we used to walk down the beach in the evening, and I'd sit there and I'd just go and just tell him all the bullshit that was going on in our camp, and he'd tell me all the bullshit that was going on in his camp, and we would piss ourselves. Yeah. But it would also set us up for not having to deal with the shit the next day.
And you won it, right? You're the only person that's won back-to-back.
Yeah. I guess, that's true.
Did your competitive instincts kick in? Like when you eventually get roped back into it, you're like, if I'm coming, I'm gonna win it.
Yeah. Oh, I can't help it. There's a scene with where Brent Todd and Coxie have a like they compete, and like the TV never showed it. Like it was amazing because we hadn't been getting food, right? There was no food really. I remember I think I hadn't eaten for about 3 days, and we won a steak, and so we went and got breadfruit out of the trees, and we made this massive stew out of it. And like, I hate shit like that, mate. You know, I was damn it. Put mango in it. Even though it was amazing. It was amazing. And of course fed it to everybody. And but he hadn't had any food, and they didn't really show it on the television. But he actually lost the plot. He just couldn't. He couldn't. Like in my brain, I'm just going, dude, you just need to walk out to the water and move some bricks. But he kept trying to pull it with a rope, and you've got no purchase in the water to do that. Yeah. He's trying to swim with it. Yeah. He actually just needed to walk it out. Yeah. But he couldn't. His brain didn't work. Yeah. And that was another it just made me think, wow, you can see why people blow it when they blow it without having any food for ages. Mind you, Toddy was a beast that day. I just remember him. He had nothing, and Cooksey had all these tools and everything like that. He just loaded his T-shirt up with all these bricks and just walked out underwater. Yeah. Like 100 meters out underwater with all this shit. Yeah. I just went, what? No one expected it, Just a beast of a man. Yeah.
It's a mental game, the fasting or not eating, going without food for a long time. Me and Shay did a 72-hour fast a few months ago.
January.
The big guy worked out every day. Hey, got into that mental space of I
was going to go 96.
He just accepted that he wasn't going to eat and went with it. So anyway,
I'll go good on Celebrity Treasure Island.
Yeah, maybe.
Next one, Julie, if you're watching.
I love how that was a really good chat about Celebrity Treasure Island. I love how we've got like a legendary All Black and we talking about Treasure Island. But Shay, any last bits and pieces before we wrap up?
Yeah, the physio stuff. Yeah. Did it ever enter your mind to like actually be part of a team and be a team phys?
Can't do it, bro.
Yeah?
Can't do it, mate. Like, I've done teams and people invite, but I kind of sit there on the sideline. Someone goes down injured, and I'm still standing there because my brain goes into coaching. And I kind of think more that way than I do as a physio. And the other thing is I'm really callous, I'm going, that's not sore, dude. Just
carry on,
strap it up yourself or some shit. Like, I'm just not a good physio when it comes to sports teams. And and like I said, like especially with rugby, I really feel the coaching side of it, I'd probably be undermining coaches if I was a physio because I'd be saying, you should be, which is not a great thing because you've got to be on the same team as a package, But I don't know, that's just me.
So what's the sweet spot then? TV, physio, celebrity?
Surfing.
Chilling?
Surfing's definitely a sweet spot. Was today anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I've tried really hard to create a life that has lots of bits and pieces to it. And, like I work part-time TV, I work part-time as a physio, work part-time as daddy home care, and so, I've just tried really hard to have lots of things in my life so that I don't get bored, I mean, there's lots of things I love doing, and I've put them on the side burner, because life's so busy.
Yeah.
I caught up with some of my music cronies, and one of my patients the other day knew a lot of my connections, those same connections. So we've been reminiscing, and I was just going, and he still plays in a band. I go, oh damn, man, I'd love to still be doing that, but late nights with a family doesn't work, playing in a band.
Because you've done proper gigs, right?
Oh yeah, I've done
thousands of people.
Thousands of people, man. Yeah, it's sick. It's the greatest. Like, it's better than playing rugby. Like if there's anything I could ever do, I'd want to be lead singer or guitarist of a genuine hardcore rock group.
Wow.
Yeah, mate. It's like,
Yeah, I can see it.
yeah, it'd be sick, man. It'd be sick. But like I said, I've tried really hard to make my life full of different things, but consequently, there's still lots of things I still love doing that just doesn't get the time that it used to. Like my art doesn't happen anymore, and I miss doing that. So I have these little binge moments where I just go into my own realm, and the little fellow come in, oh, Dad, you going to play with me today or what? Yeah, it's going, oh, yeah, in a minute.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's part of life, I guess. I don't know what's around the corner. Like, things are in a crazy... there's so much change happening in New Zealand at the moment for everybody. Like TV's heading in a new direction, multimedia stuff, its social side of aspect, it's driven, like it's all online and direct, and, using broadbands, and, it's just such a different dynamic, and people aren't watching genuine 9-to-5 TV anymore, so...
Well, some of us still tune into the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah,
Shane's a big linear TV guy.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, people aren't watching that stuff as much as they used to as well. I've been listening on the radio. Like, people question: is the news succinct? Is it telling the truth? Is it not skewed in a certain direction? And so people have stopped watching that stuff, whereas before, if you wanted to know something, you'd watch TV1,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock news, and you'd be up to date. But now people question it because of some of the social media aspects, saying, well, that's not true because I've got this proof, So, like I said, things are at a really in a crazy ebb and flow. The whole world's nutty. What's happening in Russia, and it's just, and then China, their little influence on everything as well, and I don't know what's around the corner, man. And it's not going to be me that's dealing with it, because I'm probably going to burn out before I'm going to fade away. I'll just
Ignorance.
That's perhaps why surfing's your sweet spot, because you're unplugged, you're away from that all. You are just there.
I'm a nicer person after I've been for a surf.
Yeah.
Especially if I have a good surf.
Yeah. Hey, I love having guests where the second act is just as entertaining and enthralling as the first, and what you've done since rugby, physio and art and cars and, all of it in surfing and family is really impressive. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of stuff.
We didn't even talk about 99 World Cup either. We left that all to the side. Don't need to.
We don't need to. But Shay, I know you've probably got a nice little outro lined up.
Oh, look, it's been an amazing chat, traversing so many different topics. The part, like, where you light up talking about Dunedin in the 90s, I think I always wanted to go down there and do my university there, and I never got the chance, but
you still can, bro.
Yeah, true.
Adult student, bro. It's
Yeah.
just as good a second time around.
Yeah, those 21st will be pretty
You
tasty too.
laugh. You laugh a lot. You laugh a lot.
But like hearing you reminisce and light up about it, that's the best thing about this. And also the point that you made about your crowd goes wild stuff and being able to spend time and meet different people, exactly why we do it. And Steve made the point earlier, and this has been amazing to kind of share some time with you, hear some stories, and laugh along the way. So it's been awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers for your time.
Rock and roll.